Aiden Steele's boots crunched through the thick, alien underbrush, his every step calculated, precise. The pulse of the planet Xanthora resonated under his feet. The air was thick with the smell of burning vegetation, the constant hum of unseen creatures hidden in the dark crevices of the jungle. To Aiden, it was all just another day in the hunt. He was built for this, tracking, hunting, surviving. Nothing ever got to him. Not fear. Not pain. And certainly not the vicious alien wildlife of Xanthora. The Velkrith was his target today. A deadly apex predator, nearly invincible with scales like steel armor and claws capable of rending through metal. For months, it had ravaged settlements in nearby sectors, leaving nothing but destruction in its wake. It had become the stuff of nightmares, until now. It had wandered too close to the research station, a grave mistake in its otherwise perfect strategy of survival. Aiden wasn't scared. He had studied its patterns, its habits. This was just another hunt. His voice came through the comlink, sharp, clear. "I'm closing in. Get ready." A voice crackled back through the static. "Don't underestimate it, Steele. This thing's killed 30 of our people. Be careful." Aiden's lips twitched into a grim smile. Careful is for amateurs. He shifted his rifle, feeling the weight of the weapon in his hands, the familiar weight that made him feel more alive than any person ever could. The rifle was more than a tool. It was a promise, kill or be killed. He knew it all too well. Xanthora's dense forest was a labyrinth of towering trees, their bark twisted like an artist's worst nightmare. Vines coiled down from above, thick as an arm, and the ground was a slippery mess of mud and alien flora. Aiden's steps were measured, his gaze flicking back and forth, scanning the environment with trained eyes. Every sound, every shift in the atmosphere, every rustle of the leaves, meant something. Through his helmet's visor, the world was tinged with a red filter, the heat signature of every living creature pulsing in sharp relief. His drone, an advanced tracking unit, hovered ahead, its small mechanical wings humming softly, mapping the terrain. The signal was strong. It was close. Then he saw it. A massive shape moved through the trees ahead. The Velkrith. Its hulking form, scaled like a living fortress, towered over the surrounding foliage, its spiked tail dragging behind it, causing trees to snap and bend. Its eyes glowed faintly in the dim light, piercing and calculating. Even from this distance, Aiden could feel the tension in the air, like a current ready to snap. The Velkrith's muscles rippled with every movement, and its massive head swung around, scanning the environment with predatory precision. It had sensed him. Aiden crouched, moving silently behind a cluster of thick tree trunks, his breath slow, his focus absolute. He'd faced creatures like this before. No different. He just had to be quicker. Smarter. The creature's massive form continued to lumber forward, unaware of his exact position. Aiden's drone sent another ping through the comms, confirming the Velkrith's location. It was just a few meters away now. Lock and load, Aiden muttered to himself. The time for patience was over. He stood up in one swift motion, weapon raised, and fired a warning shot into the air, a single pulse of light that shot through the trees like a comet. The Velkrith whipped around, its glowing eyes locking onto him instantly. Its roar was deafening, vibrating through the forest. It was a challenge, a declaration that it wouldn't back down. Aiden's heart raced, but his movements remained steady. He didn't flinch. The Velkrith charged. It was fast, impossibly fast for its size. In the span of a second, it closed the distance between them, its mouth opening wide, revealing rows of razor-sharp teeth. Aiden fired, his shot hitting the creature's armored side, but the pulse barely left a dent. The Velkrith's scales shimmered under the impact, like liquid metal. Aiden didn't wait for the creature to reach him. He dove sideways, narrowly avoiding the swipe of its massive claws, which slashed through the air where he had just been standing. His heart was pounding now, but he kept his breathing steady, forcing his mind to focus. He couldn't afford any mistakes. He rolled behind a boulder, momentarily hidden from the beast's sight. His hand flew to his communicator. I need backup. Now. Negative, Steel, came the voice of his superior. You're on your own for this one. Take it down. Aiden cursed under his breath. Damn it. This wasn't supposed to be a one-man job. He wasn't invincible, but there was no turning back now. The Velkrith sniffed the air, its head turning in every direction. It knew he was nearby. Aiden waited, his pulse rifle raised, eyes locked on the creature. He was aware of every movement, every sound. The planet was alive with it, but this was a battle between him and the beast. The rest of the world didn't matter. Another roar ripped through the silence as the Velkrith surged forward once more. Aiden fired again, this time aiming for the creature's exposed underbelly. The blast was stronger, but still the creature didn't falter. It was too strong. But then, something unexpected happened. The Velkrith stumbled. A low, pain growl escaped its throat, and it collapsed, its massive body hitting the ground with a thunderous crash. The sound reverberated through the jungle, and for a moment, Aiden just stood there, frozen. The creature wasn't dead. It was hurt. Aiden stepped forward cautiously, rifle still aimed. He was ready for anything. But what he saw next made his blood run cold. The Velkrith, its body trembling with pain, dragged itself forward. A sharp, ragged breath escaped its mouth as it lifted its head to meet Aiden's gaze. The creature's eyes were not those of a mindless beast. There was something else there, intelligence, confusion, fear. Aiden hesitated. He had never expected this. His communicator buzzed again. Steel, status report. Did you? Hold on, Aiden interrupted, his voice low, almost reluctant. He lowered his rifle just slightly. Something's wrong. The Velkrith made a low, guttural sound, its massive head twitching in Aiden's direction. Then it did something entirely unexpected. It didn't charge. It didn't roar. Instead, it lay there, breathing heavily, wounded. Aiden's breath caught. There was something about this creature, a vulnerability he had never anticipated. He took another step forward. Then, a voice crackled through his earpiece. Aiden, don't. But it was already too late. Aiden's fingers hovered over the trigger, but for the first time in years, he didn't pull it. Aiden crouched beside the Velkrith, his pulse racing but steady. The creature's massive form lay on the ground, its jagged breath steadying as the seconds passed. Its scales, dark and reflective, gleamed under the dim light filtering through the canopy. Blood, dark and thick, pooled beneath its body, a stark contrast to the deadly beauty of its skin. It was still alive, but barely. The large, ferocious creature that had been humanity's greatest threat now looked vulnerable, a sight Aiden hadn't anticipated. He took another step, his boots making a soft crunch in the dirt. The creature's eyes flickered toward him, the unnatural glow dimming for a moment. It wasn't the predatory glare he had seen earlier, it was something else. Something less certain. It was almost pleading. Aiden's hand remained steady on the rifle, but he didn't pull the trigger. He stared back into the creature's gaze, feeling something twist in his chest, something foreign and uncomfortable. He'd been trained to kill, to see everything through the lens of threat and survival. Yet, here he was, facing an apex predator that had the potential to wipe him off the planet, and instead of raising his weapon, he was questioning himself. Steel, status report, the voice crackled through his comm. It was his commander, Captain Vega. Aiden's superior. The one who expected results, no matter the cost. Aiden hesitated. His mind raced through protocols, through the code of conduct that had defined his career. The orders were clear, capture or eliminate the Velkrith. But something inside him resisted. His hand twitched, and he let the rifle fall to his side. It's injured, Aiden said, his voice low, barely audible over the comm, but it's still alive. Captain Vega's voice snapped through the static. Don't get soft on me, Steel. Take the shot. That's an order. Aiden's jaw tightened. He could hear the urgency in Vega's tone, the impatience. Aiden had always been the top hunter, the one who never questioned orders. But this was different. This wasn't just a hunt. There was something deeper here. He looked back at the Velkrith. Its heavy breathing was labored, but its massive form remained imposing, even in its weakened state. It wasn't just any animal, it was an intelligent creature, one capable of strategies and instincts that rivaled Aiden's own. And now, it was at his mercy. Aiden knelt lower, his instincts warring with his duty. He reached out slowly, the tips of his gloved fingers brushing against the Velkrith's scales. The moment his touch made contact, a ripple of energy seemed to pulse through the creature, and it shuddered, not in fear, but in response. Its eye flickered once more, focusing on him, a silent acknowledgement of his presence. "Steel, I'm warning you." Aiden didn't let Vega finish. "Not today," he muttered under his breath, his words swallowed by the dense forest around him. The Velkrith let out a low, strangled growl, and Aiden froze. He raised his hand slowly, signaling that he wasn't going to harm it. The creature's body tensed, as if preparing to lunge at him despite its injuries. But it didn't. Instead, it lowered its head, its enormous muzzle inching closer to him. Aiden's pulse quickened. For a moment, it seemed like time had slowed. The jungle around him faded into the background as his world narrowed down to the two of them. He looked at the Velkrith's face, its massive jaw slightly open, the sharp, lethal teeth gleaming. But those eyes, those damn eyes, reminded him of something. Not of a monster, but of something human. Something he understood. He wasn't just staring at a deadly alien. He was staring at a sentient being that was capable of understanding him, of making choices, of feeling pain. Aiden's breath caught. This wasn't just survival anymore. It was a test of something deeper. What did it mean to be human? Was it just about surviving, or was there more to it? "You're not just an animal, are you?" he whispered, barely aware of the words leaving his mouth. His heart raced, a mix of adrenaline and confusion. The Velkrith didn't respond in words. It didn't need to. Its gaze was enough. For the first time, Aiden felt a bond, a connection. Not with a victim. Not with a monster. But with something more. Something that wasn't just a threat. His calm crackled again, this time more forcefully. "Aiden, I don't know what kind of game you're playing, but you better finish the mission. You can't play hero with this one." He ignored the transmission, his eyes still locked on the creature. He didn't know what he was doing. But he couldn't kill it. He couldn't go back to the station and report a kill. Not like this. Slowly, Aiden unstrapped his med pack from his waist and pulled out the basic field kit. He didn't have much, just the essentials, enough to stabilize an injured human soldier, maybe, but nothing for a creature like this. Still, he had to try. He couldn't leave it to die. The Velkrith's massive, powerful body jerked slightly as Aiden approached. The creature's muscles flexed in warning, but it didn't move to strike. It was trusting him, or, at least, it wasn't attacking. It was the smallest of openings, but Aiden took it. He applied the first bandage, unsure if it would even help. He worked quickly, knowing he didn't have long before reinforcements might show up. But as his hands moved over the Velkrith's wound, something shifted. He wasn't just doing this out of necessity anymore. There was something else driving him. Compassion? A sense of responsibility? Or was it the rare understanding that sometimes, the right choice wasn't the easy one? As Aiden continued to apply the field dressing, the Velkrith relaxed. It wasn't a surrender, but it was close enough. Its breathing slowed, and it lay down more comfortably, its head resting on the ground. For a moment, it looked almost peaceful. And for a split second, Aiden allowed himself to believe it was. But then the moment was gone, replaced by the harsh reality of the situation. He couldn't stay here forever. He couldn't ignore the orders. The other hunters would be coming for it, and he knew they wouldn't see what he saw. They would see a prize. A creature to be captured, killed, or studied. They wouldn't care if it was intelligent. They wouldn't care if it had a right to live. Aiden stood slowly, wiping his hands on his pants. His rifle felt heavier now, but he didn't reach for it. Instead, he turned and walked away from the creature. He didn't know what the future held, but one thing was clear: he wasn't going back to the station. Not yet. Not while the Velkrith was still breathing. "Steele," Captain Vega's voice came through the comm again, this time more subdued. "We're on our way." Aiden didn't respond. He didn't need to. The decision was already made. He would protect this creature. He didn't know what the consequences would be. But for now, that didn't matter. The jungle around Aiden seemed to pulse with a life of its own, the sounds of unseen creatures vibrating through the air like an electric hum. The Velkrith was still behind him, its massive form lying still, recovering slowly. The creature's labored breathing was a constant reminder of the precarious situation they were in. Aiden hadn't expected things to turn out like this. He hadn't expected to be standing in the middle of an alien jungle, torn between his duty and a decision that could change everything. He glanced over his shoulder. The Velkrith's eyes met his, and in them, he saw a strange mix of wariness and understanding. It wasn't the gaze of a mindless beast, it was intelligent, just as intelligent as he was. Aiden had felt it when he treated the creature's wounds. There had been a silent exchange, an unspoken agreement, like two warriors meeting on the battlefield and agreeing to a temporary truce. But Aiden knew the truce wouldn't last long. The other hunters would be here soon, and they wouldn't hesitate to kill the Velkrith. To them, it was a monster, a threat to be eradicated. To Aiden, it was something more, a creature with the ability to think, to reason, to feel. That made it different. And that made him question everything. His comm link crackled. "Aiden, what the hell is going on? We're tracking you. You better have a damn good explanation." It was Captain Vega. Aiden's gut tightened. He could hear the anger in Vega's voice, the frustration building with every passing second. Vega wanted results. He didn't want excuses. He didn't care about compassion. All he cared about was the mission. Aiden swallowed hard and hit the comlink button. "I've got the Velkrith. It's alive, but barely. It's not a threat. It's injured. I'm taking care of it." "Taking care of it?" Vega's voice was sharp, incredulous. "Steele, you're not some field medic. This is a monster, not some wounded puppy. You've got one job. Bring it down. Now." Aiden's fingers tightened around the comlink, but he didn't respond immediately. His eyes moved to the Velkrith again. It was watching him closely, almost as if it understood the tension in the air. The predator had done its damage. It had been a danger to the station, to the settlers nearby. But now? Now, it was just another injured creature, just like any other being that had been pushed to the brink of survival. "I'm not going to kill it," Aiden finally said, his voice low but firm. "I'm not your dog, Vega. I'm not following your orders blindly." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Aiden could almost hear Vega's teeth grinding through the comm. He knew the captain was on the verge of losing it, but Aiden had made his decision. "I said, I'm not killing it. If you want that done, you'll have to do it yourself," Aiden added, his tone steady but final. "I'm done." The line went dead. Aiden's hands trembled, but he quickly forced the feeling away. The jungle, once so alive with the sounds of distant predators, now felt unnervingly silent. The weight of his decision hit him all at once. He wasn't just defying orders. He was risking his career, his future, and possibly his life. But there was something else, something stronger than the fear of consequence, a growing sense of rightness, of justice, of something larger than the mission. The Velkrith shifted behind him. Aiden turned to find the creature lifting its head, slowly rising to its feet with surprising grace. Its large, powerful limbs moved cautiously, as though testing its strength. Aiden took a step back, his hand instinctively reaching for his rifle, but the Velkrith didn't lunge. It simply stood there, staring at him with those piercing, intelligent eyes. For a moment, Aiden considered leaving, making his way to the extraction point and reporting in. But he couldn't. He couldn't leave the creature here to die. Not after everything he had seen. Not after everything he had felt. Then, the sound of approaching footsteps reached his ears, too many for comfort. He knew the other hunters had arrived. Aiden cursed under his breath. The moment of truth had come. The first of the hunters emerged from the dense foliage, followed by two others, all armed with rifles. They scanned the area, clearly on edge, and their eyes quickly locked onto Aiden. They didn't see a man who had made a choice, they saw a man who had failed his mission. Aiden, one of them, a tall, broad-shouldered man named Grayson, shouted. "What the hell are you doing? Step away from the creature." Aiden's heart raced as he turned to face them. He could see the anger in their eyes, the anticipation of a fight. But he couldn't back down now. He had made his decision, and he wouldn't let anyone force him to change it. "No," Aiden said, his voice steady. "I won't kill it." Grayson took a step forward, rifle raised. "Then we'll do it for you." His voice was cold, hard. "Get out of the way, Steel." Aiden's body tensed, every muscle in his body screaming for him to prepare for a fight. But he couldn't fight them all, not like this. He had to make them understand. He had to make them see. "I'm not going anywhere," Aiden said, his tone unwavering. "This is not your hunt anymore. It's mine." The Velkrith growled low, a guttural sound that seemed to reverberate through the ground beneath them. Its eyes glowed brighter, its body shifting slightly. It was ready to fight, to protect itself. But Aiden stepped between the hunters and the creature, his body blocking their path. "You want to fight?" he asked, his voice low, but with a calmness that sent a chill through the others. "You'll have to go through me first." Grayson lowered his rifle slightly, his brows furrowing in confusion. "What the hell is wrong with you? It's just an animal." "No," Aiden said firmly. "It's not just an animal. It's not just a threat. It's a living creature. And I'm not going to kill it." A long silence hung between them. The Velkrith's breathing slowed, and the tension in the air grew thick. Finally, Grayson lowered his weapon, though his stance remained defensive. "You're making a mistake, Steel," Grayson muttered, his voice a mixture of frustration and disbelief. "But if you want to die with it, fine. It's on you." Aiden didn't respond. He didn't need to. His decision was made. With a final glance at the Velkrith, Aiden turned and walked deeper into the jungle. Behind him, the other hunters hesitated, unsure of what to do. But Aiden wasn't looking back anymore. He had made his choice. And no matter what happened next, he wasn't going to regret it. "You." The jungle grew darker as Aiden ventured deeper into the dense undergrowth. The distant hum of the station's engines was barely audible now, swallowed by the thick canopy and the perpetual storm that raged in the distance. The Velkrith, once a towering predator, now moved quietly behind him, its massive form weaving through the trees with surprising stealth for such a colossal creature. Aiden could feel the weight of his decision pressing down on him. The hunters had stayed behind, confused but unwilling to challenge him further. He didn't know where he was going or what would come next, but he knew he couldn't go back. Not to the station, not to the rules that had defined his life. For the first time in years, he felt something raw, something powerful that was beyond survival, beyond duty. It was purpose. "Stay close," Aiden murmured as he moved ahead, his voice rough, though he wasn't sure if the Velkrith could even understand him. The creature had followed him without question, its massive eyes watching him closely with what could only be described as curiosity. They didn't speak, but the silent agreement between them was enough. Aiden didn't know if the Velkrith understood the bond they were forming, but he knew it had crossed the threshold. This wasn't just about a wounded predator anymore. This was about a shared fight for survival, a struggle against a system that saw them both as disposable. The ground beneath them shifted as Aiden stepped carefully over a patch of muddy ground. The air was thick with moisture, and the relentless storm clouds overhead seemed to press in on them, the faint glow of distant lightning illuminating the sky in jagged streaks. It wasn't the kind of place anyone would want to get stuck in, and yet here Aiden was, alone with the creature that had once been his enemy. It was a moment that would define the rest of his life. A sudden rustling came from the trees ahead. Aiden instinctively dropped to a crouch, his hand reaching for his rifle, but he stopped. There was something off about the noise, too slow, too deliberate. It wasn't the sound of something lurking, ready to attack. He signaled to the Velkrith, and the creature froze, its head swiveling in the direction of the noise. A figure emerged from the shadows, moving deliberately toward them. Aiden's first instinct was to pull his rifle up, but he stopped himself. He knew that figure. Vega, Aiden muttered under his breath, his voice tight with disbelief. Captain Vega appeared, stepping into the clearing with a determined expression. His stance was rigid, his hand resting on the grip of his sidearm. He didn't seem surprised to see Aiden, but there was something in his eyes, a flicker of something darker. "So, you've made your choice," Vega said, his voice low but cutting through the air like a blade. "You're really going to let it live, huh? After everything?" Aiden didn't lower his weapon. "It's not about what you think. I didn't let it live. I'm giving it a chance. A real one." Vega's lips twisted into a thin, humorless smile. "You've gone soft, Steel. You're forgetting what this job is about. This isn't about playing God with these creatures. It's about survival. Protecting the human race. And that thing," he gestured toward the Velkrith, "is a threat. Always will be." Aiden stood his ground, the weight of his rifle heavy in his hands, but his voice was unwavering. "It's not a monster. It's just a creature that's been cornered. It's a survivor. And you're wrong, Vega. We're supposed to be better than this." The two men stared at each other for a long moment, the tension thick in the air. Aiden could feel the storm beginning to break above them, the first crack of thunder echoing across the sky. The lightning lit up the jungle, casting long, jagged shadows that seemed to stretch endlessly. "You're wrong," Vega said again, his voice quieter this time, though no less determined. "The moment you let that thing go, you've sealed your fate. You're a liability. And that creature is no different than the rest of them. It's a threat, Aiden." "No," Aiden said, his voice calm but resolute. "You're wrong. The real threat is the way we think of everything. We think we can just kill and conquer. But maybe that's not the answer. Maybe there's more to survival than that." The Velkrith growled low behind Aiden, a deep rumble that reverberated in the air. It wasn't an aggressive sound. It wasn't a challenge. It was a warning. Vega glanced at the creature, his eyes narrowing. "I don't care what kind of bond you think you have. It's not going to protect you. If you're with it, you're as good as dead." "I'm not with it," Aiden replied, the words flowing out without hesitation. "I'm with myself. And I'm making the decision that's right. No one else is going to make it for me." Vega's face twisted with a mix of frustration and something darker, something Aiden couldn't quite place. But before Vega could respond, the sound of more footsteps echoed through the jungle. More of the team. They were closing in. Aiden didn't wait. Without another word, he turned, signaling for the Velkrith to follow. The creature didn't hesitate. It moved silently behind him, its massive body almost gliding through the thick underbrush. Aiden pushed through the dense foliage, moving fast, knowing there was no time left. They were coming for him, and he couldn't afford to be caught. Vega shouted after him. "Steel! Don't make this worse." But Aiden didn't stop. He couldn't. He had made his choice, and it was one that didn't involve killing. It didn't involve following orders blindly. It was a choice of something deeper. Something that transcended his role as a soldier, as a bounty hunter, as a weapon. The rain began to fall in sheets as Aiden pushed forward. The forest around him came alive in a symphony of sound, the patter of the rain on the leaves, the chirping of alien insects, the distant growl of predators. The Velkrith stayed close, its massive presence a constant, reassuring weight at his back. Aiden's heart pounded as he ran, but he didn't look back. He couldn't. He wasn't running from the hunters. He was running toward something else, something undefined, something he couldn't explain. But for the first time, Aiden didn't care about the destination. He didn't care about the rules, the orders, the consequences. He was moving forward, and he was free.